Hi, Ede Zanetti, Amazon Primaverial Forests, Myths and Reality. The conception people have about reality changed over time, and even about specific themes, Think about the egg thing, and meat consumption, and now I want to talk to you about nature balance. The, the, the egg is not bad for your health. Eating meat is part of, you know, human diet, and changing is what is natural to the planet. One of the most powerful tools for, manipulating the ecosystem used by man since always is fire. So fire is a friend. Huh? It is being used always to manage the the land. So it comes from this perception that the first humans have about the fire that goes into the fields, and when the fire passes, some trees grow. They the germination of some seeds is associated with fire, especially in the northern forest. So it is part of the development that you have fire, and and this has been used by humanity always. And the misconception here is about the Amazon. People think, oh, this is a primaverial forest. It is what remains from the Gardens of Eden, whatever. But when you look at the history of the planet, you see that this makes no sense. 20,000 years ago, we are under a major glacial area. So all the land over this region was bare land. When the ice starts retroceding, it came, it left behind, sand and lots of water. It was no room for forest. So, and this process went over like thousands of years when you have still not the soil or the climate conditions that would allow forests to thrive. So after some thousands of years of, dry weather, you have a soil that could support some grass. And then you have grass, you have birds, you have shrubs, and you start having animals, and you start having, organic matter that was developing some sort of uh, soil properties. But it's still today, if you look at the Amazon soils, Brazilian Amazon soils, you see that they are really poor in terms of microorganisms. What you have is fungi, mostly root and fungi, and the water is, the pH is really low. Look at the water in the Amazon. So what you have is an environment that demands a lot of inputs to increase productivity and reduce its low pH. Those those soils, anyhow, they start allowing, trees to grow. I would say 6,000, 5,000 years ago. At the same time that major, human uh, groups were forming in the region. It was the same time that people start doing agriculture in India, and raising cattle and sheep in what today is Iran. At the same time, groups of people were forming all over the Amazon using the fire to manipulate what was the first forests that were coming in some 5,000 years ago. And this has a major influence. The population in Amazon at this time was something like, 10% of what was in the planet, or and this population was distributed along the rivers mainly. organizing the first cities we have. Huh? And then the trees that were occupying the region, the forests that we have at this 6 or 5,000 years ago were different from the ones we have today. We had more water in, so the trees were different. When the land starts to dry, that allowed space for larger trees to go, and I would say that the forest like we see today is pretty much the result of, you know, the climate conditions and soil conditions that established some 1,000 years ago or something, and of course major manipulation that we have on the forests since then, not only by humans that are settled over there, but the, the whole environment that has changed, especially the increase on CO2 levels. So that the structure of the forest that we see today is not something that has always been there. It's the result of today's contemporary society. Huh? And as it is, we have to replace this romantic view or the Gardens of Eden and start looking at a forest park, a forest, a land area that needs to be, you know, correctly developed. And I think we are pretty much doing it. It is already a fact that the areas that have most of the biodiversity, especially related to trees, are the ones that were cultivated by man over the centuries in the region. You know? And we have a larger stock of trees today probably than we have in the past, because people were using less trees than they use what they used to. You know? And if there are too many trees, they just burn the forest in order to do agriculture. That was the rule over the Amazon. You know? In the past, if you don't have enough resources, if the forest didn't produce enough, then you kill people on the tribe. You know? So you have enough for all. Today, we know better. We know how to develop, to put technology in our favor, to produce more with less. And this is what should happen in the Amazon. It is not a Primaverial forest. This romantic thing doesn't exist. It is a changing ecosystem that can be perfectly managed and manipulated by man to supply contemporary needs.